Hey everyone, Warriors faithful. Let's dive right into the heart of the debate that's been keeping Bay Area fans up at night. Jonathan Kuminga's tenure with Golden State and whether the front office missed the optimal window to pull the trigger on a trade. Picture it, it's January of 2024. The Warriors are suiting up against the Denver Nuggets. And there's a palpable tension in the arena. Kuminga, entering his third season, had flash glimpses of brilliance lightning quick. Drives to the rim, boards snatched from taller foes, and that rare combination of size and agility that had scouts drooling during his pre-draft workouts. But in this particular contest, a couple of defensive lapses on his part drew the ire of Steve Kerr. And before long, he found himself on the bench, watching the rest of the game unfold without the leash he so desperately needed to thrive. What many fans don't realize is that this benching wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of months of growing frustration on both sides. On the one hand, you had a coaching staff desperate to win another championship, unwilling to sacrifice even a single possession to developmental growing pains. On the other, you had a young player craving consistent minutes to hone his craft, to learn through repetition rather than timeouts. The result was a tug of war that played out in whispers, in half-court heaves delivered by Nikola Jokic to seal the game, and encryptic social media posts that hinted at a widening rift. It was in that moment when the buzzer sounded and the lights dimmed on Kuminga's chance to make his mark that the gears should have started turning in the front office. This experiment wasn't yielding the returns they'd hoped for. Hindsight, of course, is 2020. Looking back, you can see that Kuminga's skill set peaked at precisely the point they needed to capitalize. A multi-game stretch where he scored in double figures night after night. His versatility allowing him to beat defenders off the dribble and bully them in the paint. Scouts would later note that there was a unique chemistry in his game during that window, as if every nerve ending aligned to reveal the superstar potential lurking beneath the rookie contract. By the time the organization finally acknowledged the irreconcilable differences in developmental timelines, they had inadvertently elevated his trade value by showcasing his ceiling. But they did so at the cost of internal discord that would linger for the rest of the season. In the immediate aftermath, the narrative was dominated by rumors. Some whispered that Kuminga had no intention of re-signing if handed a lucrative long-term deal, a claim often trotted out in trade negotiations to justify lower offers. But any seasoned front office professional knows that until the ink dries on a contract, a player's motivations can shift as quickly as the market. A max-level extension on the table can erase months of dissatisfaction overnight. Yet Golden State seemed determined to wait, perhaps banking on loyalty or hoping that time and championship culture would wash away the tension. Instead, what emerged was a testy dynamic that saw public jabs at coaching strategies, internal meetings that leaked to the press, and a young man questioning his place in the very system that had drafted him. As the season wore on, the debate among fans and analysts grew more nuanced. Some argued that the Warriors had been wise to hold onto Kuminga through the draft, resisting the temptation to trade him at a discount when his rookie contract represented pure upside, with minimal financial risk. After all, by keeping him on the roster, they maintained the flexibility to evaluate him over a full calendar year before committing to a max deal or exploring trade scenarios with asset-conscious teams. That argument holds water, but it ignores the intangible cost of internal friction. Championships are not won on paper. They're won in locker rooms where trust and clarity of roles are sacrosanct. If even one player feels marginalized, the delicate ecosystem can unravel in critical moments. Another layer to consider is the opportunity cost. Had Golden State moved Kuminga at his peak value, say, around mid-season after that scorching stretch, they could have extracted a veteran asset to plug the gaps that emerged in their supporting cast. Instead, they lingered in hope, invested in the mythos of team culture, and convinced themselves they could surgically integrate a raw talent without sacrificing current objectives. It's a high-wire balancing act, and rarely do organizations manage it without a safety net. In more pragmatic circles, the message was clear: either commit fully to Kuminga's development with no guardrails, something the Warriors' championship window arguably couldn't afford, or acknowledge that his trajectory lay elsewhere, and maximize the return while the market was paying attention. By the time the trade deadline approached, the landscape had shifted. Kuminga's contract was no longer a rookie bargain but a looming cap liability. The window for cost-effective acquisition had closed, and teams interested in his services knew they'd have to pay up. What Golden State was left with was a host of half measures, spec packages that undervalued his talent, offers that required sweeteners like future picks or unwieldy salary matching. Fans watched in frustration as the organization, renowned for its shrewd wheeling and dealing, seemed hamstrung by its own indecision. Every leaked rumor about potential landing spots in Indiana, Phoenix, Sacramento came with the caveat that no deal truly moved the needle in terms of elevating the roster. The team's attempt to straddle the timelines pushing for another championship, while cultivating the next generation, came face to face with the immutable laws of roster construction. This saga raises a fundamental question about competitive windows. How long are they open, and what must the front office sacrifice to keep them ajar? Golden State won 4 titles in 8 years, a miracle of modern sports. Yet every dynasty must eventually evolve. The balance between honoring established stars and injecting new blood is a razor's edge. In Kuminga's case, the decision to hold firm during the draft and early cap-friendly years seemed logical on paper. But the reality of minutes distribution, mentorship, and egos meant that the experiment was doomed from the moment. Defensive inconsistencies cost him playing time. When you layer in public expressions of discontent, however subtle, the path to reconciliation narrows with each passing game. Let's rewind even further for a moment. Imagine an alternate history where Golden State traded Kuminga on draft night for a veteran wing or a future first-rounder. In that scenario, they double down on the championship timeline, adding a proven role player who fits the system and knows his place. Kuminga lands in a young, rebuilding franchise with cap space and a mandate to give him every minute he needs. An environment where failures are seen as growth opportunities, rather than press conference talking points. Fast forward 18 months. Kuminga has blossomed. The Warriors have hoisted another banner with a complimentary piece locked in, and both parties emerge satisfied. That neat symmetry is the alluring fantasy. Yet front offices rarely execute clean storylines when the stakes are immeasurable, and fan expectations soar with every splashy draft night reveal. Of course, reality resists such tidy resolutions. In the heat of competition, with a Hall of Fame coach, a generational shooter, and a defensive anchor anchoring the core, Golden State was never going to roll the dice on developmental growing pains. Without oversight, they needed to see tangible progress, a willingness from Kuminga to absorb the culture, and a level of defensive competence commensurate with title aspiration. Yet that very standard created the tension that spilled into the headlines. Internal sources hinted at frustration, on-court chemistry looks disjointed, and when Kuminga leaked that he was losing faith in the coaching staff, the public perception shifted from cautious optimism to bruised egos. It was no longer a story of patient cultivation, but of irreparable misalignment. As fans, we recount these pivotal moments in the cold clarity of hindsight: the benching against Denver, the tear in the social fabric, the delayed green light on a trade. But what often gets lost is the human dimension. A young athlete, still learning the rigors of NBA life, grappling with criticism and the weight of expectations, caught in a system laser-focused on victory. The organization, meanwhile, faced its own reckoning, forced to weigh the intangible value of potential against the tangible reality of wins and losses. And so, the Kuminga chapter became emblematic of a broader truth about dynasties. They demand conformity, they reward reliability, and they leave little room for error. In that crucible, even a player with Hall of Fame flashes can find himself on unstable ground, his future measured not by ceiling but by fit. And fit wasn't the only obstacle. Salary cap constraints, luxury taxes, anticipated extensions all conspired to shape the calculus. A team flush with championship hardware still had to navigate financial shoals, ensuring that any addition didn't jeopardize the core. When rumors swirled of sign-and-trade packages from Phoenix or Sacramento, each came with strings attached, draft picks, protected swaps, perhaps even an unwanted contract tossed in to balance the books. Golden State could have elected to pay the King's ransom, but that would have undermined the very ethos that built their dynasty: sustainable success, a culture of player development, and roster flexibility to adapt to the league's evolution. In choosing patience, they gambled on the hope that Kuminga's raw athleticism could be refined without collateral damage. Yet the narrative arc took a darker turn when patience wore thin on both sides. This leaves us at a crossroads. Should a storied franchise prioritize loyalty to young talent at the risk of stagnation? Or should it be willing to part with a high-ceiling player to preserve its immediate championship window? Golden State's answer was a compromise, neither fully embracing Kuminga's growth nor decisively moving on. That middle ground is where most organizations falter, for it satisfies neither long-term vision nor short-term demands, and so, as the Lakers' loss in 2023 faded into memory and the next playoff push beckoned, the same question reverberated: when is enough enough? I've said it before and I'll say it again. In the NBA, timing is everything. The moment you waver, the tide shifts, the market adjusts, the narrative grows teeth, and before you know it, the golden opportunities have slipped through your fingers, leaving you to wonder what might have been. In Kuminga's case, that window was open for a brief, shining moment in January 2024, but by the time realization set in, it was already closing. Now, as trade rumors swirl once more and fans debate the merits of sign and trade versus buyout, we're left with the aftermath of that fateful decision, a reminder that in sports, as in life, the greatest risk can be indecision itself. In the wake of that pivotal season, the Warriors found themselves at a crossroads, navigating a landscape shaped as much by financial projections as by locker room dynamics. With Jonathan Kuminga's rookie contract nearing its end, league executives and rival front offices watched closely, calculating what the raw combination of youth and athleticism might fetch in a sign-and-trade scenario. Golden State's brass faced a dilemma: whether to extend a qualifying offer and risk a protracted contract negotiation that could disrupt chemistry, or to engineer a deal before the summer market inflated his value further. Behind closed doors, they deliberated over cap holds, bird rights, and tax apron thresholds, all while trying to anticipate the market's appetite for a player who had shown electrifying bursts of potential but also moments of defensive inconsistency. As the calendar flipped to June, trade chatter reached a fever pitch. Media outlets teased packages involving future first-rounders, protected swaps, and veteran starters. Some pitches included Malcolm Brogdon or DeJounte Murray as throw-ins. Others suggested that a rebuilding franchise might part with a younger role player on a cheap 3-year deal. In each mock negotiation, however, Golden State hinged its valuation not on headline statistics but on real plus-minus athletic testing results. And that tantalizing stretch in January when Kuminga had looked like a near all-star from each corner of the floor. To its credit, the front office leveraged every scrap of data, deploying analytics teams to project his win shares over the next 3 seasons under various coaching regimes. Meanwhile, the coaching staff prepared their own dossier, chronicling Kuminga's defensive lapses alongside film breakdowns illustrating the leap he'd taken in shot selection. The juxtaposition of raw talent against refined accountability became the defining tension, and so, as July began to remold the league contracts signed, commitments made, the Warriors remained conspicuously in limbo. Offers came and went, none matched the organization's internal benchmark for win-now contributors. Ultimately, the team chose a middle path. They extended a qualifying offer slightly below market expectations, preserving the right to match any rival's bid sheet, but they also kept lines open with prospective trade partners. It was a hedge, neither fully committing to Kuminga's long-term development nor decisively cutting ties. The decision rippled through training camp and preseason alike. Kuminga returned, a guarded smile concealing the knowledge that every practice rep, every pick-and-roll defense was under microscope. Steve Kerr, ever the diplomat, structured lineups that occasionally afforded Kuminga a chance to showcase what he'd learned. But minutes remained a precious commodity behind established stars. The preseason spotlight saw Kuminga alternately launch boundary threes with confidence and then retreat into furtive glances. After contested attempts in one early tune-up game, he exploded for 20 points on perfect shooting, only to follow it with a 4-point outing marred by a blown rotational assignment. Analysts panned and praised in equal measure, dissecting the footage on highlight reels while team insiders fretted over the psychology of a young player straddling the dual roles of mentor-guided apprentice and marketable trade piece. As the regular season tipped off, the Warriors' rotation settled into a rhythm that spoke volumes. Kuminga hovered around 20 minutes per night, his spot oscillating between bench spark plug and situational small ball 5. The front office, sensitive to the optics of underutilization, had stipulated that he be featured in promotional materials, video packages showcasing the next generation, but game scripts told a different tale. When opponents keyed their defenses to limit his drives, coaches hesitated to exploit mismatches on the perimeter, wary of sacrificing defensive cohesion. In press conferences, Kerr lauded Kuminga's work ethic while journalists pressed him on the opponent's specific game plans that seemed to relegate Kuminga to a finishing role rather than a creator. The head coach's affable demeanor masked the challenges of managing expectations. When a player's ceiling so visibly outpaced his floor by mid-season, whispers resurfaced about a potential in-season trade. League insiders speculated that teams in playoff contention were monitoring injury reports closely, ready to pounce if Golden State's fortunes wavered. Yet, despite a handful of losing streaks and closer-than-expected games, the injury-depleted Warriors never truly fell below a threshold that would force a fire sale. Instead, the organization leaned into its championship cachet, hosting workouts for prospective role players, auditioning wings and stretch bigs who might complement the core with minimal disruption. Kuminga, meanwhile, oscillated between accountability, meetings with staff and community appearances where he spoke of gratitude and growth. The dual narrative of mercurial promise versus tempered integration played out in front of a global audience, with social media feeds capturing every triumphant dunk and every uncontested three that clanged off the front rim. As the trade deadline approached once more, the landscape had shifted again. Teams that had been rebuilding in July were now hovering on the fringe of playoffs, and their willingness to part with future assets for an immediate boost had waned. In some cases, front offices balked at the sign-and-trade logistics required to acquire Kuminga. In others, they preferred cheaper two-year deals that left cap space intact. The Warriors found themselves in a paradoxical position, powerful enough to veto any deal that didn't meet their standards, yet unable to find a partner willing to step up. Reflecting on that season, several general managers privately wondered if perhaps Golden State's very prestige had inflated the asking price beyond reasonable value. Why offer multiple unprotected picks for a young player if you could instead chase lower risk veterans with more predictable outputs? And so, the market closed in on Kuminga, leaving him on the roster, but with a star Steph Curry able to play the unscripted hero, and Draymond Green anchoring an elite defense. The window to move Kuminga before his price skyrocketed had slammed shut, and the team was left to decide whether to match any bid sheet or let him walk in free agency. The following summer. In the locker room after the deadline, there was a palpable relief. No further distractions, no more what-ifs. The season's trajectory, however unpredictable, would now be determined by on-court performance rather than trade rumors. Kuminga embraced a renewed focus, reevaluating his training regimen, diet, and film study habits. He sought out mentorship from Curry on shot mechanics and from Green on positioning and shot contests. Late-night film sessions extended into early morning workouts, and teammates noticed an intensity to his work that spoke of a young man determined not to be defined by transactional speculation. Meanwhile, the front office turned its attention to the next generational questions: how to reload the bench, whether to push for an aging veteran in free agency, and how to maintain flexibility under a cap structure that was trending ever tighter. That season unfolded as a testament to organizational patience and player resilience. Kuminga's averages around 12 points and 6 rebounds per game belied the electric moments that still punctuated his stat line: a chase-down block here, a one-man fast break dunk there. He never captured the full all-star narrative that some had predicted, yet he also never became a cautionary tale of misused potential. Instead, he evolved into a reliable role player, one capable of stepping into the rotation without the specter of speculation overshadowing each possession. For Golden State, the experiment yielded lessons about the limits of data-driven projections, the importance of timing and asset management, and the human element that underlies every contract negotiation. As the season drew to a close and playoffs beckoned, the franchise reflected on its journey. Jonathan Kuminga remained part of the roster, his contract now extended on team-friendly terms after mutual agreement, a compromise that recognized his growth while preserving financial flexibility. The team had weathered the storm of market pressures, internal debates, and on-court adjustments to emerge with a clearer understanding of its own identity. The two-timeline schism, once so pronounced, had softened into a vision of seasoned champions integrating rising talent, a blueprint that no longer felt aspirational but operational. Looking ahead, the road remains uncertain. Kuminga's narrative is far from complete, and the Warriors' dynasty faces fresh challenges in a league defined by quick rebuilds and shifting allegiances. Yet the scars of that crucial January, the lessons of negotiation rooms, and the resilience forged in practices and pressers have created a foundation upon which future decisions will rest. The story of Jonathan Kuminga and Golden State will forever be intertwined with questions of timing, fit, and the alchemy required to blend explosive youth with established greatness. And while the chapter of his potential trade ultimately closed, the volume on his career and on the franchise's ability to balance present glory with future promise remains wide open. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In a sudden and surprising move that has set the NBA rumor mills ablaze, the Golden State Warriors appear to have sealed a lightning-fast agreement for the rising Asian star RHENZ ABANDO. Although no official confirmation has been made yet, insiders suggest that the Warriors are close to finalizing a deal that could bring the talented forward to the Bay Area, igniting excitement among fans and analysts alike. ABANDO, known for his impressive versatility and sharpshooting skills, has been making waves in international basketball circles. His rapid ascent from a promising prospect to a potential NBA player has caught the attention of several teams, but the Warriors seem to have acted swiftly, possibly looking to bolster their roster depth with fresh talent ahead of the upcoming season. The speculation is that the Warriors see ABANDO as a strategic addition, one who could complement their current lineup and add a new dynamic on both ends of the court. This rumored agreement, reportedly reached in record time, highlights Golden State's intent to maintain their competitive edge while scouting global talent. ABANDO's playing style, characterized by his agility and basketball IQ, fits well with the Warriors' fast-paced, ball movement offense. If the deal goes through, it would mark another significant step in the increasing globalization of the NBA, where Asian players are gaining more visibility and opportunity. While details of the contract remain under wraps, insiders hint that the deal is structured to give ABANDO a chance to prove himself at the highest level, with the Warriors potentially investing in his long-term development. The team's front office is rumored to be impressed by ABANDO's work ethic and his potential to evolve into a key contributor, possibly even a fan favorite in the near future. The buzz around this potential signing has stirred discussions about how the Warriors might adjust their rotation and tactics. Fans are curious whether ABANDO will be integrated as a perimeter threat, or if the coaching staff plans to exploit his versatility by deploying him in multiple roles. His arrival could also signal a shift towards nurturing young talent and embracing a more diverse squad makeup. For now, the basketball world watches eagerly as this rumor unfolds. Will the Warriors officially welcome RHENZ ABANDO into their ranks, or is this just another fleeting whisper in the off-season chatter? Whatever the outcome, this possibility alone is enough to fuel excitement and anticipation among supporters of the Warriors and followers of Asian basketball talent worldwide. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.